Hello everyone and welcome back to Greenstat Asia webinar series. I'm your host Prasadini, Wickramasinghe, an energy analyst, and I coordinate our activities at Greenstat in Sri Lanka. It's wonderful to see many of you joining us today from the different part of the world. Thank you for taking the time to be here with us. Today's webinar is titled Smart Microgrids with Hydrogen, the Role of Software and Modular Electrolysis. It's all about how green hydrogen combined with smart software and modular electrolyzers can create reliable microgrids, boost energy independence, and accelerate our journey to net zero. Before we begin, let me briefly introduce who we are. Greenstat Asia is a consulting company dedicated to advancing renewable energy with a special focus on green hydrogen. Our Center of Excellence for Hydrogen, based here in Sri Lanka, is committed to knowledge sharing, capacity building, and fostering collaboration across the globe. We work closely with universities and international experts to promote hydrogen safety, technology, policy, and the full hydrogen value chain. Now, it's my great pleasure to warmly welcome our guest speaker, Sebastian-Justus Schmidt, the founder of the Enapter. Sebastian, thank you very much for accepting our invitation. Sebastian is a global leader in modular anion exchange membrane electrolyzers that produce green hydrogen. With over 30 years of experience as a software entrepreneur, he successfully combined his expertise in digital technologies with renewable energy solutions to pioneer scalable hydrogen production systems. Under his leadership, Enapter won the prestigious Earthshot Prize in 2021 for its innovative approach to decarbonization. Today, Sebastian continues to shape the global energy transition by promoting hydrogen-powered microgrids and software-driven energy management. After serving as the first CEO of Enapter, Sebastian now works in a consulting role and uses his Share House in Thailand as a living demonstration platform. Before we begin, just a few housekeeping notes. Please type your questions in the Q&A box at any time during the session. We will address these questions during the Q&A segment at the end. And a recording of this webinar will be shared with all registered participants in the coming weeks. Without further ado, let's dive into today's session. Sebastian, the floor is yours.
Yes, thank you very much. That's was a very, very kind introduction. I would directly start with the presentation. The idea is that we talk here maybe 25 to 30 minutes, and then we also have some time for the Q&A afterwards.
Sebastian, now can you please share the slides?
Oh, I did already. Wait a second. Oh, good. I'll get it once again. Wonderful.
Yes, now we can see the presentation.
Okay. So we have three things we have to bring together in this kind of presentation. It's first an understanding about microgrids, about modular hydrogen systems, and what kind of role the software will have here in this. When you look up for the definition of microgrids, actually, so you will find quite a lot of different things. So I can, okay, but there's one one line you will always find. It's a microgrid is a group of interconnected loads and distributed energy resources, DER. So you have to remember this word, this kind of abbreviation, DER, within clearly defined electrical boundaries that acts as a single controllable entity with respect of the grid. You can find this kind of quote almost everywhere. So this is the definition of a microgrid. And when you really try to put some brain in this kind of definition, you can find out that almost every small system which has an inverter, some loads, and a solar panel and a small battery is already defined microgrid. And this is correct. So this is the official definition. It can have a direct connection to the grid or not. That is not really, let's say, something which is important. And not defined, let's say, the microgrid itself. About the market size of microgrids, there are extremely wide definitions. So we put some forecasts together, and in the end, it's what is most important to know is that the compound annual growth rate, so the average rate of new installations and value in the market for the next decade is almost for every company who do, let's say, some estimations, almost the same, 15 to 20%. So everyone is, let's say, thinking that this is microgrid is rising up. And now we speak about microgrids. It's not only, let's say, with hydrogen. We speak about microgrids as decentralized energy systems. A regional leader is Asia Pacific. Today we have here more than 40% in share, and the reason why it's this kind of fast growing region is also because there are some infrastructure upgrades and policy supports in China and in India, and I don't know how much in Sri Lanka, but I know that the entire region is looking for more reliable energy grids, and all the time when it comes about reliability, then it comes also with existence of more microgrids. We separate microgrids in different categories. We have a very small size, and when you run to exhibitions and you see small inverter companies, they always bring up their inverter as a microgrid technology ready, because you can connect with batteries. You have, let's say, for sure, this solar, and here you, as an example, we have a typical telecom tower, which would mean around 5 kilowatt, and this is a small size microgrid. When you go to the slide here in the intermediate solution, you will see also that there is a diesel generator in, and this is actually typical. So when we look into today microgrids, then today microgrids was more than 95% has diesel gensets on the side, and when the battery solution is depleted, diesel gensets will jump in and will produce energy. That works for small telecom stations, but also for larger installations. So until a few years ago, everyone was thinking about microgrids and around 5 megawatt, and everything else is maybe something else. But today, microgrid, the wording is used also for very large scale systems, and this goes to gigawatt in the conception phase today. And we have microgrids which has more than 100 megawatt. Microsoft, for example, built it for their data centers because they need this kind of 100% delivered energy, and they do not want to depend on weak grid systems. So when it comes to diesel gensets, okay, so when it comes to diesel gensets, you see we cross it out, and this is actually what this is our talk today. We want to replace it with hydrogen systems. because we have the energy production already in the on the microgrid, and we want to use it to produce hydrogen and use the hydrogen as a fuel to backwards produce energy. So then we have a really green microgrid, and this is actually what we are looking for. So the current supply chain of fossil fuel, I don't think I need to say too much, but only to visualize again. So we really have a complicated system of upstream logistics, refineries, storage, transport. Here's a wagon from the train, but in the end it will be, let's say, transported with small cars, trucks to each individual remote stations. And this is costly, and this increased the price of small microgrids today because fuel is expensive. If we understand how this works with decentralized independent systems which produce the fuel on site, then we see that renewables and the H2 production can be together on one place, and the H2 storage is then the fuel storage and can be used in the same way like diesel gensets beforehand. People think it's complicated. So there's this kind of saying, if you have seen one microgrid, you have seen one microgrid. And I actually question this. Is it still true? And it comes for sure, if you have super large microgrids, it's a big engineering work. But for the mid-range microgrids, we believe that this is not really needed because there are so many things in common and so many things which actually can be easily built up. And to make things easy, we actually always try to reduce complications. So one day this was a few years ago, on these kind of products, we had a workshop where we said, okay, let's build a microgrid with these kind of components. Yeah, you see solar inverter, battery inverter, you see, let's say, small parts flying around, electrolyzer, fuel cell. So, and we built a microgrid with enthusiastic people in one day. It was quite tough, but it was working, and everyone understood, oh, it's actually possible. It's October 2019, so it's exactly from today, 6 years ago. Yeah. And we saw it's actually possible to do systems like this. When it comes to hydrogen, there are always coming questions up at the moment. So people say, will hydrogen really go forward? And there are some larger hydrogen installations which are not coming so fast, and maybe some are cancelled. So where it's going? And honestly, when you look in this kind of direction, you will find a lot of negative things. But if you look to the direction of what really happens in the field of hydrogen, you will be surprised how many really realistic systems are building up at the moment. And the best to see it, you can find it at the EIA Global Hydrogen Report, the review 2025, which came out only a few weeks ago. I really recommend it to find this on the internet. You will see a lot of statistics, and you really think that the market actually for hydrogen is growing. And this is actually what you see: real projects, realistic projects, not anymore fantastic future. It's realistic steps into the right direction. And you see also here one of these kind of things is cost. You see the slide on the bottom. This is about cost, and you see this is the cost relation, which was actually summarized in 2023 in this kind of report. But even if we look today, we actually see that the costs are going down, and this is, let's say, our also the idea. Cost will go down in hydrogen as in all renewables for the capex of all products. Yeah, and then there's one need for hydrogen is, let's say, I would say, natural need of hydrogen is always because we can't do everything with electricity, at least for the time when we actually can envision the future for the next maybe 50 to 100 years. So we define in energy in the words of molecules and electricity. Electricity is very clear, is electrons in grids, and molecules is everything else. And when we look to energy consumption by source, then we have in every country a little bit different way how it's done. So here is a little bit less than 20% in Thailand. We have here the Thailand energy consumption by source. But we have biofuels and you have oil products and coal. And if you look to Sri Lanka, we will have, I guess, a little bit less electricity in electrons and more in hydro dams. I guess it's quite big. But the Norwegian here in this kind of the audience, they will actually have it very much, but they don't have so much sun. So you can't have all, obviously. But we see that worldwide, beside, let's say, countries like Norway and countries like Bhutan, where have huge hydro dams, the electricity is around 20%. Yeah. And we see it from Germany, so that how difficult it is to increase your grids. Yeah. So that is not an easy task, and there's a lot of hesitating in this kind of field. Yeah. We say it's a hydrogenous decarbonization module. So because hydrogen, when you produce it with renewables, you can bring it back to electricity, but also you can use it in many, many other ways. You can put it in cars and trucks for mobility. But the main use of hydrogen today, not green hydrogen, unfortunately, but the main use of hydrogen today is the production of ammonia. So fertilizer. Let's have a little bit look to the modular hydrogen systems. So I've jumped into Enapter technology, which is called REM technology. So for the ones who never heard about electrolyzer, so there are 3 different ways of produce hydrogen. So actually, main ways of produce hydrogen in the normal way for renewables is alkaline, REM, and PEM. And alkaline are these kind of very super huge electrolyzer produced mainly in China, also in some other companies doing alkaline. Alkaline is a very stable, very old-fashioned technology, which is actually, I think, the most cheapest way. However, they are not really good working with renewables, because we have sun and then we have wind, and with our sun and wind, they're coming and going, and this is not nice for alkaline. They need a long time to start up, and they need some time to go down. So this is actually more for base load. For the very fast loads, PEM was created, and then later IM. PEM is a technology which is like REM. It's high performant, very fast, actually very good for renewables. However, PEM is using some very expensive materials like iridium, and REM is not using iridium, has no PFAS in the stack, so it's a little bit more when you would say what are PEM and REM, maybe the diesel engine, more robust engine is REM, and the PEM engine is a high-speed motor which runs with high octane. So maybe this is an okay way. The thing is that IM systems today, we have a very high recycling path, so very good recycling methods. So because of PFAS in the stacks of PEM, so you have some problems for recycling, and the price is actually quite high. Yeah. So when I would speak about IM in detail, I would explain you why actually so the hydrogen which comes out of the IM electrolyzer is so pure, and also with 35 bar. That the reason is that the way it's produced, it's unique, and we called it dry cathode, and which is also patented from Enapter. So if you want to hear more about this, please also there are some links in the end, and I will tell you where you can find out more. The idea behind this kind of modular systems was quite clear. So we looked into how to get the cost down, and one of the reasons getting the cost down is looking into the past, how previous cost reduction has happened. We see that the computing in the past was very, very large systems. Then PCs and smaller systems came up, and the price for computing power was going down dramatically. Today, when you look into computer centers, it's not any one unique big computer. It's actually this kind of small systems which plugged in hundreds, even in thousands. And when you need more power, you actually add more power. And the same idea we had with electrolyzers, to use smaller systems, easier to handle, easier to repair, easier to maintain in highly clustered environments. And also we have a small scale electrolyzer where I actually started myself with these kind of systems even before Enapter was founded in 2017. This electrolyzer was improved over all the time until today, and it's a continuously path of improvement of changing things, make it better, more performant, more intelligent, more lightweight, more easy to repair. Yeah. We come to this point a little bit later as well. So and today there's a big family with this product. So for sure you have this kind of modular single system. And when we speak later about individual microgrids, which has already built, you see these kind of systems in clusters, but also systems which are larger. So today Enapter is delivering megawatt size electrolyzer to numerous customers worldwide. Yeah, and this is, let's say, the part where it comes to how systems are built up. And when you first design a system, you never think about this, honestly. So even if you have a lab, so you might not have this as a first point when actually you started with the first system to make your lab model completely correct. But when you have done, let's say, thousands of devices, what Enapter, for example, did, then systems become more and more modular and more easy to understand, and also with partners who are worldwide sitting and have the ability to integrate them and also repair them. Can always happen, the filter, or let's say a fan cannot work or something like this. So how you deal with this? You do not want to send, let's say, devices completely back and forth in our today time. And then we have this kind of flex, so you have seen it before. So this is a much larger system when you want to have 54 kilogram hydrogen a day. Then you need systems where they have plenty of stacks, and you have a shared balance of plant, which reduce the cost, or you have megawatt scale systems like this, and all with the same principle. I'm not going into detail for the kind of systems of the newest stack generation, but you can find them on the Enapter website as well, or simply send us a question afterwards and you get some contact to the people actually who are doing the business development. So now comes, so we're speaking about excess solar, about, let's say, typical situation of microgrids. And here we have a typical microgrid in a actually quite good sunny day. And what you see here is a diesel gen set jumping in the early morning time because there's not enough battery available. And this is actually very typical for many microgrids, what you can see out with diesel gen sets outside. But then you have also excess PV, which cannot go actually as a load in the battery, and you waste it. And this is actually the part where we believe that should be produced we should take it and produce hydrogen with this, and use the hydrogen and start fuel cells, which then backwards produce energy. And this is a way where you do not have to drive to fill up the diesel, where this is really a system which can actually really live on its own. We have some examples here from microgrids. So the PCR house I will explain a little bit later. So we have a Mafate microgrid in Larion. We have actually I believe you will find quite a lot of microgrids from Enapter on the website. Actually, when you go there, you can see them more. I want to speak a little bit about the PCR house microgrid, because it's not only the area where I live, it's also a microgrid which survives for more than 10 years with hydrogen, and is most likely the oldest microgrid with hydrogen worldwide. The only one also. Maybe at least the first one for sure. Yes, not the only one, but the first one. And you see also here in what has happened in our in the energy system, in the room where all the magic happens. You see the first installation in 2017 was actually changed a little bit with other fuel cells in 2018. Here we have different companies actually. And then again, fuel cell changed here in 2019, and we used the 2.0 version, which is actually still in use. And in 2021, we added the first version of 4.0, which later we changed to 4.1. So today, the system looks like this. So here we have our 8 electrolyzer. We have 2 fuel cells from Intelligent Energy, by the way. And we have SMA, mainly is SMA built up, but here battery inverters and grid systems. And we have a huge tank. In the beginning, you see from the last pictures, you have seen single tanks with hydrogen. We removed them into one big large tank, which has 1.485 megawatt lower heating value, which means around 600 kilowatt in actual use for electric energy. So it looks like at the moment, when you would see this kind of energy system from in this way more in detail, this is the core of the energy systems. We have an electric demand of 250 kilowatt a day, which is quite high because of all the pumps we are using. And this is, let's say, the most important part. When you actually have microgrids, which goes into city level or in smaller housing units, then the energy demand jumps up. And by the way, what we have found out, it jumps every day and every year. So you find more and more energy use. And so I have not seen a single microgrid which stays the same size as was designed. So therefore, maybe a little bit less work in designing a microgrid and put more efforts into keeping it flexible and building it up in the later form. One very big point is cost. And here, where we can talk about this for an entire hour, but I try to make it short and most dense. So when we understand that the electricity would cost 10 cents per kilowatt hour, what would a kilogram of hydrogen, which is 33.33 kilowatt hour, lower heating value? So what would it actually cost? So 1 kilogram brings one hydrogen car of 100 kilometer per hour. So it's about, then also, if you calculate it, you could also say it's 5 liters of diesel power, diesel. So when you see the cost of capex, electricity costs are the most actually for the hydrogen. So as cheaper the hydrogen comes, the electricity comes, as cheaper the hydrogen comes. This is, let's say, intermediate for 5 cents. And I've seen developer in China and in India, they calculate with 2 cents, or Saudi Arabia and below. And then you would reach, let's say, a price which is definitely below 1.5 US dollar per kilogram, which is superb, and actually should initialize more hydrogen projects. So in case that you want to visit where the Enapter products are produced today, it's you have to go to Pisa, Italy, and also there's some produced in China with our Chinese cooperation partner, joint venture, Wolong Enapter. China is very important for us because the China market is booming. It's growing extremely fast, and we are happy that we have a footprint in China. So let's look at, for the last minutes, to the role of software in microgrids. Important. Because modular electrolyzers needs modular software. And we look into open system and vendor neutral approach. So, and I will give you some more idea how this. By the way, there's all apps for all this kind of products, so you can see the electrolyzer, but also how the entire system works on your mobile app. Yeah. We started very early to go digital with Enapter. And this is extremely important because we are collecting millions of data points every month to understand how the systems work and how we can improve it. And also how they are making it in microgrids with the weather and with automatic forecast. So we use this kind of data actually to build a better forecast today. Yeah. So we started very early with systems which was Wi-Fi connected, which is great, but as more as you move to industrial use, you will come to what we call local first application and also cable connected things. So now we offer both things so that you can also go very lightweight, Wi-Fi connected or cable connected. You can produce all your data and keep your system localized, or you open it up from time to time in a secure way with the clouds. This is important. So everything what we are doing is already, let's say, connected and complies with the EU Cyber Resilience Act. This is something you will definitely hear more within the next year because it starts in the end of next year to become mandatory, and I think everyone has to change it until 2027 as a final moment where actually no one can build systems and bring systems in the market without following these kind of demands. Local first means that the management system is local. You can actually change it, but it's based on everything what we are doing here on standard hardware. Here in this case, it's an industrial gateway, Intel NUC, and we have a bunch of connectors, UCMs, intelligent systems which are connecting different power meters or devices, and you can find them also on the website. Yes. So there's a saying, if you have 10 competing standards and you created one more to unify them, and in the end, now you have 11 competing standards. So there is actually quite easy to see that every device manufacturers come up with their own APIs. What we are doing is we make it open. We make it open source, and we make it accessible for our customers. So everything what we are doing is our open approach. Is good for our customers and our partners, because what you see here and all this kind of information you can find in detail easily after this presentation on the website, Enapter handbook. And also the tools, the icons I'm using here are Creative Commons license 4.0, so you can actually use it yourself and use these kind of icons. You can actually create it yourself and use it in your way. It's quite interesting. For us, it's important to have this kind of open source blueprint marketplace. So when you actually build up your system with different devices, that there might actually be already systems existing in your from other vendors where we integrated dia inverters or Enel X boxes for car car charging. So actually, this is easy to use them directly. You see the open source of this, and also you can join the discussion at GitHub with other customers. So please find a way to use it. Now we have actually more than 50 different vendors with sometimes with several appliances, and yeah, go further. And then for the end, we work with IE for a while already, and this is maybe the biggest eye opener for the future of microgrids. So it's about not only you can't understand, you can't predict the future 100%. So even let's say you have the best AI tool, the weather actually might come with a big cloud and you have no sun. So there is something where you actually have a little bit more than only AI. So you have also, let's say, some understanding around, and this helps. All the data points help you a lot. We give you more information about this in different presentations. Not doing this, but let me give you some ideas how this works in general. So we have here, for example, a typical solar path of a day where we actually here have enough hydrogen production, and then suddenly the sun goes down, and you see it here on this kind of slide. And well, what happens then? So we actually use battery for producing hydrogen. Why we do this? We're looking for what is more valuable, but also we understand how the electrolyzer works and the battery works. So it might work with some batteries to doing like this. For some batteries where we have to reduce the cycles and they are not, let's say, really cycle ready, then we should not do this. So this is understandable about, let's say, your systems and all this kind of systems you are connecting to your system. So you would do this when you have, for example, here in the PCR house where we have lead acid batteries. So this is a wonderful thing. So this is absolutely no problem for the batteries at all to use some kilowatt for bringing it on the level so that all systems can run through the end, and then the rest of the battery charging happens at the end of the day, and you start actually in the night with a full battery and also with a very good hydrogen on site. Yes, very much to the end. Everything what you do is also commented on the mobile phones, so you can have an AI forecast. They tell you how it goes and what actually the system would do. The system can actually work without your acceptance, but this is, let's say, the question where you have to set up your system. So, and now we are coming to the Q&A, and I hope you have some questions.
Thank you very much, Sebastian, for that clear and inspiring presentation. I'm sure our audience now has a better understanding of how hydrogen and microgrids software can work together to shape the future of clean energy. Now we will move on to the Q&A session. Please submit your questions in the Q&A box, or you can use the raise your hand feature. I will call you out to speak. There's questions from Prasadini. Can you touch on the electrolyzer CapEx versus OpEx? Critical considerations to minimize the cost, especially in the OpEx in terms of maintenance and part replacements.
So the electrolyzer needs regular changes of the COE-H. That is a liquid what you can build yourself with some COE-H materials, extremely cheap. But this is a process liquid which is going from the internal tank to the stack and then backwards to the tank. There's a conductivity checkers automatically in the systems, which will tell you that this kind of system is depleted and you have to refresh it. That is it depends on the way how it's used and also how good the water quality is. You actually build it up. So, but it is in general from half a year to 1 year where you have to replace it. Yeah. And then you get a warning, and then it's not actually urgent to replace it, but then you have to within the next days. It would be better to replace it and to change it to a new water. This kind of water, this kind of COE-H which is used, is not very poisoning. So it is about like a household cleaner. So you should not, even let's say concentrated household cleaner, you should not put it into your sink. So there's always a warning on it. By the way, don't use it. So you will, but you can actually dissolve it and can remove it somehow, yeah, in a normal way. So. And this is and then there's air filter, which also has to be from time to time replaced. So I would say maybe it's once a year that you go to a product and get the dust out and clean it. But this is the main things in the normal working process.
Thank you, Sebastian. I hope.
Sebastian, when we are waiting for Prasadini, perhaps you could say a little bit about the unique features with Enapter's software, because I think this is something that stands out with Enapter. And I know that this is your baby, since you are coming from the computer or software business. So can you tell a little bit about why you have been focusing on this and what value is it bringing to the clients? I think you touched upon it, but I think that you were very light on this.
Yeah. So you know, when you speak about microgrids, the biggest problem of microgrid is that making all the devices bringing together and working together. So and for this is you can have different approaches. So and we believe that an open system vendor neutral approach is the best approach, so that you actually see every device and get out all the data of the device in the best form. Make an open eye for an open, let's say, information based from this kind of device. Make it transparent and also, let's say, open source. So and then you have this kind of device easily to adapt for everyone in this kind of network. So that means that once a device was taken from one of our customers into a network, into a microgrid, it is easy for everyone else in the world to use exactly the same device to install it as well. And this is a future it's a future important thing, because you will always have new devices. And if you build it based on a very specific platform and you ask the platform itself to build, let's say, the connectors to this kind of devices, it will always be lacking of time and you will be dependent. The way we do it, it keeps every customer completely independent, and they can, for sure, they can contribute their device technology backwards to the system or not, but they can actually use it in the way it's existing. And this helps everyone to build up microgrids in a super easy, super fast way. Then it comes with the local first also technology, which is important because it's for the communication base. It makes it easy. So, and the high quality documentation also for the software itself is extremely important. So software is good. The quality documentation that everyone understands it and can contribute and can actually feel independent, it makes sense. So building microgrid has already, let's say, something which independence in mind, but then you also have to find the right tool sets to make you independent. And this is the reason why our software comes in so handy. Yeah. So we publish all APIs, what we have done, and again, open source, and we share the documentation. There's also, if you take it, there's no need for email sign in or some NDAs to sign. So simply read what you see, use it if you want.
You were mentioning, just a follow-up questions to this, you were mentioning that remote control and follow-up, you don't need to be on site. And you were also touching a little bit on the maintenance and to fix different issues. How is the software, what role does the software play in this? Can you do the diagnostic on the software on the system? Is that possible?
Yes. Thank you for the question. Absolutely, that is one of the main tasks of the software is to do predictive maintenance, so that you understand what will happen with the system if it's ongoing running maybe in a bad way. Running bad way means, for example, you use bad water, or the electricity is not stable enough to run a system in a good way. So this is what we can actually see on the data. So we can see on the data if the temperature is too hot, there's some sparks coming up. So all these kind of things are going back into one of the systems. Actually, all this kind of data are also transparent for the customers. It's not only, let's say, hidden information we are reading out from this kind of devices. So these are very transparent. Also, every customer has this kind of full dashboard, can see everything what happens in the device. And yes, it helps to maintain the systems also in an extreme good way. Yes.
Thank you.
We have another question. For the 5-3 project, what is the ideal combination of sizes of electrolyzer, fuel cell and battery combination? So they are asking is there a general rule of thumb used for sizing?
No, here in this case, it's more weather related. So we have in Thailand, we have this kind of, in northern Thailand, we have the rainy season. And we have also an understanding about our loads. So the loads are, we have quite big loads. For example, the water cleaning, we have around 9 kilowatt permanent running for water cleaning. So, so these kind of loads, we have to switch them in case we have a bad weather. So permanently, let's say rain for several weeks means that we reduce some of the loads. And by looking all these kind of loads and needs, we understand how big the size of the hydrogen is and the batteries. So the batteries are made up that they in general can run at night completely. So if we have almost no consumption, so it means that we have only 1 or 2 air conditioners running. We have our night lights around. We have one cooling room, permanently all those kind of refrigerators in different houses. But this is actually so the night load what we are having, and so this is very, very, very low. But in the moment where we have guests, where we have full lighting, where we have actually our stoves on in the evening, so then you raise up and then honestly, so we need the hydrogen for these kind of things. Yes, it's a question about so the sizing is honestly, I have not seen any project where the sizing was super correct. And all people I met who told me that they make perfect sizing with these perfect tools, no, it's never the case. So because energy project itself, they're changing, and we have seen it actually in rural communities where they have three refrigerator and then this kind of street lights and then only, let's say, some lights in the houses. If you come then 2 years later, they have 10 refrigerators and more lighting and maybe the first fans running and so on. So you definitely see how it's always growing. Energy demand in large grids growing and also in small microgrids are growing permanently.
Thank you, Mr. Sebastian. We also have another question. So having open source approach into software architecture, so how confident can we be in terms of cyber security and new generation warfare for safety measures? especially in a world where cyber attacks can create situations to create disasters. So can you give some confidence into the cybersecurity perspective, please?
Yeah, super. So this is the reason why I mentioned the EU regulations, which are new. If you actually are not aware of this kind of regulation, I can give you also the link later on. So the EU cyber regulations honestly are quite wide and very safe. For example, you need also the BOM of your hardware, so that honestly they understand which individual chipsets you are using and in which way. So it's tough, and where we have fulfilled it already. So we go this kind of extra work a little bit earlier than other manufacturers. Cyber, this is, by the way, also the idea when we speak about local first, because local first is that that you can firewall your system completely in the best secure way you can do. So this is that is the thing. So when we speak about open source, then we speak about open source of APIs of devices we are integrating in the system. And this actually helps you a lot because you never know where the API goes. So where they are calling to, yeah, and you don't want that they are calling to someone else which is not related to you. So and therefore this is actually an extremely useful thing to have this as an open source, that the community looks at the APIs and can find, let's say, some maybe some weak points. Yeah.
Thank you, Mr. Sebastian. I think we have covered all the questions from the Q&A. And so on behalf of the organizing team, I extend our heartfelt gratitude to our honorable speaker, Mr. Sebastian-Justus Schmidt, for sharing his valuable insights with us today. Your session has been truly inspiring, showing us how modular AEM electrolyzers, microgrids, LCOH, and intelligent software can work hand in hand to create resilient and decentralized energy systems. Thank you, Mr. Sebastian. We also thank all our participants for joining and contributing to this engaging discussion. It is through such exchanges that we move closer to realizing a sustainable and hydrogen-powered future. Thank you once again, Mr. Schmidt, for your time and for demonstrating how innovation can accelerate the global energy transition. We look forward to continuing this conversation and working together toward a cleaner, greener world. Until we meet you all with yet another interesting webinar, thank you all and have a great day ahead. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.